So my name is Stacey Koosel, and I'm a doctoral student, PhD student at the Estonian Academy of Arts in Tallinn, Estonia. For those of you who don't know where Tallinn, Estonia is, it's just east of here. And I'm an independent curator of contemporary art exhibitions. I actually mostly dealt with galleries in the past, so not so much museums, but hopefully there is something applicable in my talk. So for my doctoral thesis, I've been talking about identity in the age of social media, and I've been talking about the theoretical idea of digital identity. And so what I will do in this talk is I will introduce the idea of digital identity, and then I will link it to how artists in Estonia use social media, Facebook in particular, to build sort of a social reputation and to build a community around their active work. So when I'm talking about the contemporary art world, I'm sort of analyzing the modern day phenomena, the social scripts of the art world, how the curators and galleries and artists sort of work together, how they become established, how an emerging artist sort of establishes himself within this sort of very closed small community in the country of Estonia, which is quite a small place. So I don't fixate so much about digital technology itself, as much about digital culture, the way individuals and groups communicate and give meaning. And this sort of is what I try to explain in a rather brutal way, how social media made reality obsolete. Because what I have found out in my research, I've done interviews with Estonian artists, is that sometimes the way that things appear in social media, for example, an events page or a profile, seems to be more important or more relevant than what actually goes on in the gallery, than actually what goes on in real life, in the offline space. So we have this shifting emphasis from the real to the virtual. How artists, curators, and institutions use Facebook is something I'm going to discuss, and the importance or the cultural significance of online portrayal of events versus of physical or real-world sites. So in my master's thesis, I talked about digital identity sort of as an abstract subject. I talked about the private and public paradox, how digital identity is on the one hand seeking publicity and on the one hand trying to guard privacy. Of course, when we're talking about identity and identity narratives, we're talking about identity as performance. We're talking about this sort of a constantly negotiated identity, as sort of a reflexive practice, of course, always adapting to different situations. And so when we look at sort of the history of identity studies or identity narratives, we see this sort of dramaturgical reference, the idea of the front stage or the backstage or the different frames of social identity. And so we have this right back to Shakespeare, all the world's a stage. Oh, whoops, wrong one. Oh, where is it? No. Anyway, skipping quotes. So I'll just go straight on to this one then. Anyway, so this is an early 90s New Yorker cartoon when the phenomena of digital identity sort of came to sort of mass awareness, and it's called On the Internet, Nobody Knows You're a Dog. So in previous incarnations of the internet, in multi-user dungeons and in ARPANET, there was play with digital identity, with people going on the internet and communicating with each other using assumed identities. So men could pretend to be women could pretend to be men, people could pretend to be dogs, and they would meet in these multi-user dungeons and chat with each other and build sort of virtual communities and worlds. And early digital identity researchers, such as Sherry Turkle at MIT, she started the Initiative for Technology and the Self at MIT. She took it from a psychological sort of or psychoanalytical approach, and said that when people get to play with identity online, it's actually something very therapeutic. It's actually a good thing. Now, of course, digital identity, at least to do with social media right now, we have changed from playing with identity where a dog could pretend to be a human or a human could pretend to be a dog, to the paradox where we don't exist if we don't exist online. And the identity lock-in as well, that of course the big corporations want our real name and our real information because it's much more useful to them than some kind of fantasy fabrication of the self. So we have here another New Yorker cartoon we've updated 20 years, the Ungoogleable Man. Even the most powerful search engines cannot detect him. No Facebook page, no MySpace page, no nothing, and yet he walks amongst us. And so what I'm trying to point out here is the shift in relevance. The relevance being now if people can't find you on the internet, if I Google your name and I don't find anything about you, I can question your very existence in the real world. I can question whether you exist at all. And the same thing with artists, galleries, anyone who sort of is supposed to be sort of a part of a bigger network. If they're not connected, if they're not part of this world, you can question their relevance or significance. I'm not saying this is a good or bad thing, but in my experience in the Estonian art world, it's there's a lot of emphasis placed on the having an active digital identity. And so when we talk about identity narratives, there's a three-part structure by Eakin. One can't exist without the other, really. So we have an identity, we have a narrative, the sort of the story about the self, and then of course memory. What things like Facebook events or having an online representation of the self do is not only do they create sort of an identity narrative and sort of an ongoing one that can sort of keep moving forward, can keep reestablishing itself, keep making itself relevant, but we also create a bit of an archive of events that happened, an archive of that sort of builds the relevance or the establishmentness, I'm making up words here, of an institution or a person. So the one particular example in the Estonian contemporary art world is not only are the artists and the galleries and the curators and the theorists on Facebook, not only are they all friends with each other and they all sort of comment on each other's posts, but there's also a very big reliance on the events page to let the public and of course each other know about exhibition openings or art events. And the significance of the people who will say that they're going, who will click the attending or like or in a way sort of endorsing this particular event is seen as very, very socially significant. I recently curated the exhibition of Estonian art in Düsseldorf, Germany, and the gallery itself did not really use Facebook as a mechanism for engaging with the public and for inviting people. It's a different art scene they had. So we had an event page, of course, and not so many people clicked the attend or going to the event button on the Facebook page. And some of my artists got very upset. They said, okay, well, is there a way that we could hack the system? Is there a way that we can make it look like more people are actually going to this event? And that's when I realized that the appearance, the online sort of portrayal of how the event went was more important to them than the actual event itself. They didn't actually want photographs of the people who showed up to the event. The event itself did not matter. It was how it would appear online. Because their friends who weren't around, people who were not physically in Germany and could not physically attend the event, this is the only way that they would see how many people went, how important it was. And once again, sort of create a bit of an archive as well. And on Facebook, you can go back to previous events and you could see how well it was attended or how well it was received. And so we have this idea of anti-social media, where we're more obsessed with what's happening on screens on the internet than what's actually happening in real life. And personally, I'm rather critical. I take a media ecologist stance on how technology is used. I believe that technology isn't neutral and that there is a technological imperative to use technology, even though it may not actually serve the community or serve the people who are working with it actually in the best way. But the over-reliance for artists in this particular contemporary art scene on things like Facebook, I think is a very interesting social phenomena, and I will continue to research it. I think that's it for me today. If you're interested in my work, I upload my papers in Academia Edu. I have a blog, sort of, and that's it. Thank you.